So a long time ago, we talked about having me come in and do a talk on fitness here tonight at Veritas. And then we got involved in an organization called ActivPrayer. And then the fitness campus opening became Monday the 24th. So this is the way God works. So when we met David, we said, hey, let's have David come in and do the Veritas talk and sort of tie things up with a neat little ribbon. So that's where we are today. I believe it's God's providence. So David Jack is one of the world's most recognized sports performance and conditioning coaches. He's an industry leader and a consultant for some major brands and publications like Reebok and Men's and Women's Health magazine. He believes that while we engage in fitness, we should cast our eyes up and act out of inspiration with intention for purposes that are greater than ourselves. David has stated that he wants to, quote, help people to get ready to be ready when they are called upon. David is the co-founder of ActivPrayer, an organization that, among other things, has a website where we will be able to be allowed to post our fitness intentions for public inspiration. I would like to say that David Jack is becoming a friend, and that I am excited to have him tied into this university, and that I think tonight is going to be an interesting and wonderful night. So without further ado, David Jack.
First of all, I'd just like to start off and say this with every drop of sincerity that I can have, how honored and grateful I feel to be on this campus. And I told some of our awesome training staff from the fitness center here that I told my wife, I feel like I'm a sinner among saints. And so I just want you to know how I feel about this university, how I feel about the mission that you have, the fact that your families support this school, that you've chosen to be here. Tells me something so significant about you as individuals and what you want to do in the world. And so when I come here, I do it with great reverence. And I also believe it's a tremendous opportunity for me. And I also have to mention that my partner Luke, who really the original vision of ActivPrayer was born into his heart when he was working out with a priest out in Las Vegas. He actually is in his third year of formation at Santa Croce. And Joshua, you're going to help me with the name of the university. The North American College in Rome. So he's there right now. And part of this talk for me, I'm dedicating it to him as my active prayer. So my inspired action dedicated to an intention greater than myself is him. And just taking a step back with how I got into fitness and my calling into it, if you will. I came out of college always being the kid that was a free play kid, loved to just be outside, run around, have fun, and just found total freedom and total peace and just a sense of joy in that. And when I ultimately got to college, I played football in school, finished college, and didn't really know what I wanted to do. I thought I was going to go into construction because I'd done that all my life. I had an older cousin who actually really mentored me in fitness, and we had a phenomenal connection and a friendship. And he said, why don't you come join my construction company? You take half the company and you run sales, marketing, the business side, and do some of the work. I'll focus more on the work and help you on the other side. So for a period of time, that was my intention, but there was something welling inside of me. And at that time, I actually didn't have my own deep personal relationship with the Lord. But there was this voice inside me that was like, there's something more, and I didn't know what it was. So just to unpack that story a little bit for you guys, because you didn't hear it, I was laying in my bed one night. I went back home for a couple months after school in Connecticut. And it's about 10 o'clock at night. We have to get up at 6 in the morning for a job. And I get this feeling in my chest, my soul, my mind. I can't ignore it, and I'm tired, and what it says to me is, without understanding the way the Holy Spirit works at that time, what it says to me is, you need to get on a train tomorrow morning, and you need to go to New York City. And New York City is about an hour from where we lived. And the backdrop to that is, through football, I had a good college football career, and then met some people in the NFL, and two gentlemen at NFL Properties in New York City had said, anytime that you would be interested in a job in industry, sports marketing, come down, open door policy. We're here from 9 to 6, usually Monday through Friday. You don't even have to call, you just show up. So that was months prior. So here I am, I hear this, and I say to myself, what are these, I don't even know, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't even, I was like, what are these voices in my head? So I turned over, I tried to go back to sleep, second time, about 2 minutes later, but it's deeper this time. And it says, tomorrow, you're going to New York City. You take a train into the city. So now my brain connects the dots of, maybe I should, what was it, this going in to see these guys at the NFL? Like, what? No, man, and I rolled over again. Third time, it comes to me so strongly, I actually sit up in my bed. It's about 10:15 at night. So I sit up in my bed, and it's like, tomorrow you are going to New York City. Go call your cousin right now. So, so I walk in. I call my cousin up. I'm like, Ken, I need to go to New York City tomorrow. He's like, what are you talking about? And we're like best friends. He's older than me. He's like, what do you mean? I said, I need to go to New York City. I don't know why, but I just need to go there. And maybe there's something I'm supposed to look at or I'm supposed to do. And he said, well, we're working together. We got this going. We're good. Don't go. And then we got talking about it a little bit more. And being someone that loved me, and I'm grateful for that, he said, you know what? You need to go. I got the job covered. We'll figure it out. You go to New York City. So I got up that morning, and my mom thought I was nuts, which isn't uncommon, so still to this day. So I drive to the train station. I pick a random train that I get on. I go into New York City. It's an unseasonably warm day in March. I'm walking through the city, and I'm like, I'm not going to take a cab. I'm just going to stroll over. I've got no time constraints, or no one even knows I'm coming. So I don't even know what I'm doing. So I'm like, well, I guess I'll go to the NFL Properties building, right? Because that's the only people I really know in here, unless I want to take a walk around. So I go into the NFL Properties building, walk in. I'm looking for where these floors might be and asking about where these guys might be. And I get into the elevator, and I'm lumbering along and kind of taking my time and still like, what are you doing here? Get on the train and go home, you nut job. So I wind up getting in the elevator, and you have these moments in life where they go so fast, but everything slows down, and it's in slow motion. And the elevator door was closing, and it was literally it was that way. It was about this far from being shut. And I was just kind of standing to that side of the elevator, and I saw this woman coming through the main entry doors of the lobby of the NFL Properties building. She was clearly rushing and discombobulated and trying to get in the front door, and she was older than I was. And so I was like, I need to help this woman. So that's what was in my spirit. And I remember in my mind saying, that was slow motion. And I remember in my mind saying, I'm going to probably break my fingers trying to catch this elevator door. Like, really. But I snuck my hand in there, and I just caught it. I mean, I'm like fighting the door, and I get it pulled open. And I'm holding it. I said, can I help you? Come on, get into the elevator. So she comes in. The door closes. She's like, oh, thank you so much. She's a ball of energy. And she looks at me, and she says, are you a football player? And I said, no. I said, I was in college, but I'm actually here maybe looking for a job. And she goes, I might have a job for you. And I went, what do you mean? What do you mean? She said, and we go past the elevator floor. That I didn't even push mine. She didn't even know hers. Someone else pushed the floor, and we're going past these floors. I said, do you know where you're going? And she's like, no. I said, well, let's go back down. We'll figure you out, get you settled. I don't have time constraints. So she says, I'm down here at the suggestion of Bob Kraft, who is the owner of the New England Patriots. I've been doing some work with one or two of his players with nutritional products and functional foods, and he said I should come down to the NFL Properties to speak to them. And I'm starting I have this idea of something that I want to start. And so I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So we get down, I get her settled, we go back up, she gets off, I go down, and I wind up going into the lobby of the NFL Properties building. So here's a guy in a suit that is not my right size. It looks like you got it at Kmart. I'm just this like 23-year-old kid trying to look good, and I'm not. And I'm sitting on the floor in the NFL Properties building in the main lobby against the wall, and I sat there for an hour and a half. And I never saw those guys at the NFL Properties. I never saw them. They never knew I was there, and to this day, they still don't know I'm there. I still have to close that loop. But I sat against that wall. Yeah, I sat against that wall, and what I said to myself was, what are you doing? Why are you here? What are you out of your mind? So, and I was really searching at that time, and I didn't know what I was searching for. And she came she said, would you wait for me? And we can maybe grab some food after our meetings are over. Your meeting is over. So she came out of the elevator, and she said, I'm so glad you're still here. And we went out to eat, and I don't know what it was. She didn't have anything, but she had something. And there was a light inside of it that said to me, this is what I need to do. And I don't even know what I'm doing. So I got home in Connecticut at about 11 o'clock that night, told my parents, Mom, Dad, I'm going to pack up my Nissan Sentra, and I got to head up to Massachusetts, and I got to check this thing out. And they're like, check what out? And I'm like, I don't know. There's an opportunity up there. So I drove up. I meet with Beth. There's still nothing there, but this spirit inside me is like, this is what I have to do. So I came home. I packed up my stuff. I moved up. I lived on an army cot in a barn with no running water, It was amazing. I ran around like showering in gyms for free, like getting a free week pass, and I'd shower in there for a while. Then over there, and then they'd bring me food, like the people she had, like kind of helping her out. They'd bring me food from their groceries because I was a broke college kid. But it's what started my journey in fitness. And so the very clear reality for me is, by the grace of God, I didn't choose to be in this industry. I was called to it. And I'm so grateful that I was able to answer that call, and for no goodness or greatness or wisdom of my own. The Lord saw fit enough to pull me and tug me enough so that the still small voice became a loud voice. And I didn't know at the time, but it was something that He caused me to follow. And then I fast forward, what would probably be most significant about me going and being a part of starting this brand called Ultimate Energy, which I believe that everybody has that place in their life. The variables might be a little bit different, but my thought was that everybody deserves to live in that and to give that away to people. And we raised money in that company. It was an amazing story. Ultimately, ran out of financing. It was a tough time, late 90s, early 2000s. Startups could not get second round funding. We had a lot of great stuff, but it was just time for me to go. But in the process of being there, I met two mentors who actually brought me to Christ through that company. And I met two mentors who actually taught me my whole foundation of strength conditioning and training. So outside of that, I had to go work to make some money to provide for my family. So I started doing more training and strength coaching. In that process, there was about 10,000 other divine appointments that allowed me to be in a position now that I don't deserve it at all. But my greatest heart's desire is to honor it the best that I can. To have opportunities like I have with the brands that I get to work with the Men's Health and the Women's Health who have been great to me, and Reebok, and working with different athletes and neat people that I've been able to be behind the scenes with, that so many people in the industry will call me and they'll say, how do I write for Men's Health? How do I get into Reebok? What do I need to do? And they're brilliant. Like, there's 100,000 people that should be in those platforms beyond me because of their art, because of their science, because of their knowledge. And I'm just grateful for grace that I'm there. And so when they asked me to tell the story, they pulled me into a big meeting once at Reebok, and so all these young and upcoming fitness professionals got to talk a little bit about the X's and O's of fitness and a little bit about my story, and then they were able to ask questions in a round table. And so they said, one of them said, how did you get to do these things that you do? And I went, you asked for it. And I just laid out the stories. And they kind of look at me with this face as if to say, because I don't know if a lot of them were of deep faith and understood, but they looked at me where they said to me, how do I do that? There's no clear path to that. I want you to tell me to write 50 articles and get them published somewhere else and then submit my article to a certain name, and then they'll consider me to write for the brand. Or I've got to do 10,000 hours in the gym, and this is my clear path, and I'm going to work and do all these things, and then I'm going to be able to get an opportunity to be a brand ambassador or whatever it was. And for me, it was ultimately just grace. But in it all, what I found, what I was able to tell them were there were these threads that I wound up seeing as I look back on it. And once again, through grace, those threads were things like kindness and service and faith and meekness and gentleness and caring for others, and being in the moment and doing the best I could with what I knew how at that moment in time, even though I struggled with where I was supposed to go, and just believing that if I do this, that'll take care of itself. And just a praise report on that, it has. And sometimes I still don't know where I'm going, but I know that I'm here tonight, and I know that I'm most grateful to be here. I said a prayer in that room, and I've prayed for every single thing I've done since the first day I did my first training session. So after 10 years of training, I was thinking to myself, how did I have some of these great opportunities and the people I got to work with and the fun stuff I got to do? I started looking for the threads to get better at them. And I said, all right, the reality of it is I'm not really a great coach. I'm not scientifically that sound. There's people that are way smarter than me that know the human anatomy way better than I do. I'm not a rock star at programming. I'm not great at sales and marketing. And I'm going through all these things. I'm like, how on God's green earth did I make it? And not crush people in my wake. And what hit me like a ton of bricks was the only thing that I did do every time, whether it was a media thing, Katie Couric show, I stop them when I walk down to get onto the stage where she is, whoever's with me, it doesn't matter. I stop them and I say, I need a minute, and they know, and they just back off, and I get on a knee and I pray the way I'm led to pray, and then I go out on the stage, and I've always believed since day one that he could do things that I couldn't do, and he has, and that's the only thing I've done consistently over the course of these 15, 16 years of my career that I can give any pointing to that have allowed me the opportunities that I have to be here in front of you. So the talk tonight was, I just had to start with a little bit of my story of how I was called here and just how grateful I am. The talk tonight was kind of faith in fitness and how to connect those dots. And so as I thought about speaking with you, there were so many different paths that I could go in. And there's so many different talks we had given. You could get more technical about really how to activate your faith, your fitness in your life, how to activate your fitness. Raise your hand if you'd like me to tell you how to activate your fitness, like to get that easy and square it away and make it right and just have it work in your life and be fun. Okay, well that's not necessarily what I'm going to talk about. But I at least wanted to know that there'd be some interest in it because there are paths to it, but it's not easy. And this is why I'm going to tell you it's not easy. And I'm going to give you a hint right now. And this is why we're doing what we're doing and why I have no idea what I'm doing at the same time, because this. If I lined up 100 people in this room right now and they felt comfortable enough to talk to us about something that bothered them, specifically about their wellness, and let's say that they had a certain pain or they had a big one is food, and they want to lose weight, and they're overweight. Okay, let's say that. And we went down and we asked them, honestly, are you happy with being whatever, overweight? And most of them would say, no, I'm not. Some might. But most of them would say, no, I'm not. So then the question would be, well, then why are you? Let's just change everything. Then why are you? It's the same thing like when you ask a drug addict or an alcoholic, do you want to drink, do you want to do drugs, when they know what it does to their life, and they honestly say, no, I don't. But they can't stop doing what they're doing because it's a spiritual disease. And what's happening in this world is an attack on our temple. And what we're doing in fitness and what we've done in fitness is we're trying to fight spiritual warfare with natural weaponry. So we're coming up with great products and great services and great foods and all this stuff that you're supposed to do and eat and think and da-da-da. It's all natural and it's all good, but we're not fighting fire with fire. And that's one of the things that hit me the most, that we have to find a way to connect dots with faith and fitness because it's the only way we have a shot. And as a body of believers, we have to look and walk and act different than other people because someday soon, we're going to blend so much that if we don't stand out and we're not a lamp on a stand, how can anybody differentiate and see God glorified? Through us and in our bodies, through our minds, through our spirits, through our physical body, through our souls, the embodiment, the sanctification of all those together, that's how we do what we're called to do. And we don't know when we're going to be called to do it, but we got to be ready to show up. The other thing that blows me away, to show you what I'm talking about so you can understand that this is true, is I'm going to see how the simple things are wired and they're lost. We can't put our mind on them. They seem so clear, but they're so different. So this is the way I would phrase this. How many of you guys in the room have heard of anybody or yourself have said, I gotta go on a diet? Raise your hand if you heard anybody say that, or you've said it, or anyone. Okay, I've got to go on a diet. So literally 100 million people a year will go through this in some way, shape, or form. So if we had asked the people who say, I want to go on a diet, and I'm just using that because you can see the power and you can see the worldly draw in this and how hard it is to deal with it. So if we had asked someone, hey, I'm going to go on a diet, would anybody raise their hand and tell me some of the things that that person might be giving up or might be going to start eating or do as they're going on a diet? Anybody? You can start throwing stuff out. Begin to exercise. That's key. Nutrition without movement, movement without nutrition, good luck. Giving up sweets. Okay, so what would that give me a name of one? Or chocolate. Sugar. Carbs. Processed carbohydrates, refined carbohydrates. Okay, so we know some stuff. What else we might be giving up? Wheat. Once again, kind of processed grains. Anything else people might just give up or set aside? Any of the white, processed, not nutrient dense? Yep, absolutely. What about, one of the things I will tell you this, if there's anything that you want to do to change your life in an instant, give up liquid calories. Liquid calories. So I'm going to show you this really quick. If I gave you this, and this is a good liquid calorie. If I gave you this, and you decided you wanted to eat an orange to get the goodness out of an orange, which still fascinates me how God has made all these foods different and that each of them has their own unique, it's just mind-blowing. And if he wanted to make all foods the same, he would have made them all an orange, but he didn't. That's why so many of them provide so many incredible things for our body, because they're natural by design, and they're unique and special by design. But ultimately, if I gave you this, and I did this on a show, It was an apple, actually. I told the host, I said, do me a favor, you pick, and the crowd was like they could see me, but she couldn't see what I was doing. I said, pick one of those apples that you might want to eat. So she's like looking around in the apple. There's plenty of them in there. She's looking around. So while she's doing that, I took a thing of apple juice. Okay, so it's not wrung fresh apple juice. Even if they say it is, it probably isn't. So it has like 27 grams of sugar in it, right? So I grabbed the apple, and some of it's naturally occurring. There's a difference between added and naturally occurring. So I took the apple juice, 8 ounces, gone. I mean, I drank it literally in 3 seconds. It's finished. So 120 calories just entered my body in 3 seconds, and very low nutrition went in with it. She hadn't even picked out her apple yet. Did you get my point? Taking your time to eat what was natural by design, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is where the power is. And it just fascinates me, how that works and all the things that we're doing. But in the end, you'd give up things like soda, right? So we'd start to give up all those things. What are some things that you'd start to do nutritionally? Vegetables, great call. Drink more water, great call. Anything else? Vegetables, we'll throw fruits in that. What else? Lean protein, very good. Building blocks of muscle, we need that. Anything else? You think everybody pretty much knows and understands that? Here's the irony of this. How hard is it for people to go on a diet? It's brutal. Some people pre-contemplate that for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Even myself, I'm going to give up something for Lent. I'm contemplating that like, I got to give that up, and oh man, this is going to be rough, and I got to eat that, and I got to go on a diet, and I got to clean this out. But almost everybody that does that, it's a hard journey. It's like a camel passing through a needle's eye. It's so hard to go on a diet and give up that stuff. Here's the irony of it. You're not going on a diet. You're coming off one. You're starting to eat the way God intended it. This is how we know it's so backwards. That everyone looks at it as, I'm going on a diet. No, you're coming off one. The modern diet that we've gotten trapped into, and you're starting to eat the right way. So when we started to look at those things, we started to realize how the wiring is and how we see things so differently and we can't see things clearly. So we figured, how do we connect the dots between faith and fitness, which is what ultimately started our journey together. But leaving that aside for a second, I felt like it was important for me. There's a song by Jason Gray. Have you guys ever heard of the singer Jason Gray? Raise your hand if you have. A couple have. Do you know the song Remind Me Who I Am? It's one of my favorite songs. Isn't that song awesome? I saw your hand go, bam! She's like, she's been fired up by that. So ultimately the song goes like this. I was going to play it for you, and we were going to like clap and get a little crazy and hear a little fitness revival we had to get out. But I'm going to peel away from it. But it says, when I lose my way, remind me who I am. And then ultimately says, tell me once again who I am to you. And I think sometimes we forget who we are to God, what the human body and what the human being is to Him. We know that we are the first fruits of His creation. We know that He set the rest of this world in place before He decided to put us on it so that it would sustain us and that we could be Lord over it. We also know that He made us each one of a kind, right? And we also know that He gave His Son, the thing most precious to Him, for each and every one of us. That's a sacrifice. Whatever it means to be a human being, as we're still deciding and figuring that out and understanding that, is humbling and it's reverent, because an awful lot was given for us. And I think sometimes we forget who we are in Him. So years ago, I had an opportunity to go on a show and talk to kids. And I had to talk to them about fitness and nutrition and health and wellness. How do you get 8, 9, and 10-year-olds to get engaged on a TV show and talk to them about health, fitness, and wellness? So I got on my hands and knees, true to nature, and I'm like, Lord, I have no idea where to go with this. I have no idea what to say. And right up to about 3 days before I went on there, I had no idea what to do, and then He put it together for me. And what ultimately it was really inspired by was a book by Og Mandino, and it's called The Greatest Miracle in the World. Have you guys ever read that book? Raise your hand if you have. Huh? Me and you. That makes it better for this. So ultimately, when I read that book, I said, oh my goodness, I was so blown away with the human body, who we are, what we're capable of, that I was encouraged to put together some thoughts that weren't quite like this, but some thoughts that kind of led to that. So I just wanted to take a minute to go through this. Then at the end, I'm going to unpack a little bit more faith and fitness, but I feel like it's important for us to know what we're caring for and why it doesn't come to our minds in the first place that we need to care for it with such dear reverence. So when we asked, when we were together, and myself included, I'm still being convicted of this, and I've got a long way to go, and he is refining me like just right down to the bone right now. When you would ask me, why do you go to the gym? Why do you do fitness? Why do you train? Why do you play sport? I would not have a relevant answer, an answer that made sense, an answer that stands up. My first answer wouldn't have been because you took such great care giving me this body, and it is the temple of your spirit, that I want to do whatever I need to do. It's first on my list so that I can be ready for the unknown and the unknowable, so that I can be ready to show up when called upon, because I want to honor you with that, because I love you for what you did for me. It's not first. It's not second. It's not third. It's not fourth. It's not fifth. And in fitness, it's all about, and it's been relegated to the mirror, the scale, the speed, the jumps, the looks, the muscles, you know, how I look in clothes. It's been relegated to something that is not to the fullness of what it's capable of. And that's what ultimately bothered me so much about what I was doing. So in the end, I wanted to take a step back, and I just wanted to look at just a little bit about us. And so I'm going to go through this if I can. Maybe. When clicked. How'd that happen? That was awesome. And now I can't do it anymore. Let me try this. It did? Oh, so it's got a little delay. Maybe I need to stand here for a minute. So basically, I just broke this down. It's you by the numbers. And I couldn't think of a different way to put all this together for you. So first will come up the number, and I love just a candle, everything that it symbolizes. That's another one of the things that gets me fired up. So 14, and that's how many miles away your eye can see a lit candle under the right condition. 14 miles away, just a candle. Some of these are pretty cool. You're going to like them. 30. That's the amount of minutes it would take the heat the human body can produce to bring a half a gallon of water to a boil. Hey, Chris. Join in. You're welcome. 45, 11, 5, and 5. Just things to consider. It's how long a human can survive without food, sleep, water in days, and air in minutes, respectively. That obviously has, some give or take on either side, as we know, as it's been written. But that's the general rule for us. 100, that's miles per hour that a sneeze travels outside of your nose. That just fascinates me. Like the amount of force that comes out. It's 100 miles an hour, and it's, we still stand. I think that's why we say, God bless you. 170, that's the miles per hour that an impulse travels to and from your brain. So here's what's so interesting about that. And what just fascinates me is this. You see that? You didn't think at all. Not a bit. You reacted to something that was in the air that your brain stored a recognition of what was coming to you. Your eyes tracked it. What you're going to see in a little bit about what the eyes are capable of, identified what it was. In midair, in the half a second it took to get to you, your brain said, I know what this is. I know how I'm going to catch this. It arranged your hands in such a way that it sent a message down and back, moved them in unison to come up and to catch this, not like this, or like this, just like this. Just right for the amount of weight that he suspected that this might be and the speed that it might be traveling at. It's fascinating. That's called kinesthetic differentiation in science. It's that the body understands and knows how to prepare itself for force and for stimulus, and somehow, some way, this miraculous brain calculates all of this stuff and all of this messaging from the body. He didn't jump up out of the seat and twitch and start doing like MC Hammer, and that didn't need to work. Those arms needed to work, and the eyes needed to work, and the hands needed to work. And so it did the job that it needed to do, which is fascinating. And those things, those impulses traveled back and forth 170 miles an hour, like constant. Read, react, read, react, read, react, read, react. Am I where I need to be? Am I where I need to be? You're not thinking about it at all. It's completely subconscious. That's fascinating. That is one of the greatest miracles on the face of the earth, and it just blows me away. So, and I continue to just be more and more amazed by it. 630, 206, and 7. If 630 is the number of muscles that are in your body, 206 are the number of bones, muscles, they're still climbing, and 7 is the miles of nerve fiber, and that's growing as well. That all work in concert to move your body in sport and life, which is exactly what just happened. Your brain figured out how to talk to the muscles it needed to talk to and the 630 that it had available to it. Your bones and all the joints were able to move in such a way that it needed to move. And all the miles of nerve fiber that connected your brain and everything that goes on with your brain and your body worked together in perfect concert to have you synchronize an action that was smooth and graceful. Glad you caught it. Yeah. 18,000. That's pounds or 9 tons, the amount of weight one matchbox-sized block of your bone can support, 4 times more than concrete. So what we say is, and for anyone who has kids in sport and anyone who's in sport, just a little thing to think about, your bones and your cartilage and ultimately would be meniscus and all that stuff, they're super strong and they're super durable when it's straight vertical load like this. They get weaker when they're shearing, and they get more weak when there's a damage or there's a rupture in there, and then we shear. That ultimately becomes like wet paper. So anyone in here who's got issues with cartilage, with their joints, and they have defects in them, you need to see some of these guys because they will help spare you those precious joints and that precious energy so that you can have them sustainable over the course of your life to do the things you love to do, which is the purpose of fitness. 24,000. That's the number of fibers or cilia in your ear to help you process sound. So I'm going to actually have you guys just jump in with me a little bit. David, you're going to be right on me with this. I know it. You ready? You're going to have to, this is a little audience participation. You don't have to get up. You don't have to work out. You don't have to do burpees. So you don't have to do that. But I am just going to do this for you. You ready? So let's go like this. Oh, come on. Ready? Isn't that amazing? That your ears can identify what that is, that you know how to do it, you find rhythm, that together you start working as a unit. That is also amazing. Ironically about that, I want to take a side note on that. There's something that they've been studying in positive psychology right now that's actually been around forever. And there's different types of neurochemicals get released in the brain. One of the most powerful is called oxytocin. Oxytocin only gets released in certain, there are nursing students in here? Gets released in certain environments in the brain. One of them, for instance, is when a mother is nursing. The other one, which is actually fascinating to me, and I totally get it now when I heard it, I'm like, oh, I get it. And this is like one of the feel-good, just peace, joy, regulation, is when you're in awe. And awe is something that is contextual, because people find awe in different things, and they feel the divine in different scenarios. I find it in nature is a huge place for me, and I feel awe in nature. And it just releases something in the brain that allows you to anchor that feeling and be so reverent of it and so grateful for it. But one of the things that's so fascinating they found is that when people are doing action together, particularly for a cause or when they're in the trenches, but it gets synchronized, that type of activity, that physical activity, actually releases that neurochemical. So they went back and they looked at the US military, and they didn't know why they created such tight bonds with people in their squadrons, in their barracks, when they did all their marching and they had their cadences and it was perfect and they sang songs and they felt like this, because there's actually a neurochemical wiring in addition to the culture that was created that shaped a feeling inside of them that had them feel part of something bigger than themselves, which is also powerful. So when you guys start working together, that's when it starts to get fun. When that dawned on me, by the way, too, is I went to a concert recently, and Harry Chapin, the famous singer, Cats in the Cradle and the Silver Spoon, you know, Jumped Over the Moon. His brother is out there who is super talented, and he played all these different instruments and had these really cool kid songs that had messages to it. And some of the kids, on one side, there's so many schools there, on one side clearly had studied the songs with their music teachers. So they were like finishing and adding in little things like, you know, when you say like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and then the kids add some crazy stuff, or the happy birthdays and they add their little things. They had all that stuff, and they were clapping to the beat, and they had everything going on, and it was like, I want to be over there, because there was so much connectedness and so much energy. The kids on our side, a lot of them didn't know it. They knew parts of it. They weren't engaged. They were like starting to play with each other. And it just dawned on me, when we're working towards something together and we have ownership and competence and an understanding of what we're using and doing, and we come together in a place that we find joy and can be connected in, the power in that was so unbelievably overwhelming that it just encouraged me to find opportunities to be with one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. One of my favorite scriptures, by the way, Hebrews 10:24. 28,000, we're going to move along. The amount of times the average eyeball blinks each day in order to clean and protect itself, and you don't think about one of them, but it does the job for you. And these numbers are rising, by the way. Here's a fascinating one. I'm going to prove it out to you. Do you feel like coming up, David? All right, come on up, man. I'm going to have to close your eyes.
Okay.
All right? So here we go. Close your eyes. You can face this way. Can I trust your eyes are closed?
Yes.
All right, if you can tell me how many fingers I have up, I'll give you $10. Okay, his eyes are closed. Yes, yes. All right, eyes closed? Okay. Take a big whiff. You know what it is? Because you're sick.
Yeah.
I picked the wrong guy. He can't smell. Who has their sense of smell and didn't see that prop? All right, one of you guys come up who doesn't have a stuffed nose and have a cold right now. Anybody? Can they smell? One of my trainers. Okay, you want to come up, ma'am? Hold on. We got a volunteer from the side, and these are the matriarchs, so I want them on stage. Thank you. I'm going to have to give you the same. I don't even have to worry about you guys being honest. That's what's so great about this place.
Better be good.
It better be good. But you're here. What's your name?
Dorothy.
Dorothy, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Thank you. All right, so eyes closed. Trick, I'm going to give you this one. Hold on. I got to give you a little help with it. Take a whiff.
Smells like an orange.
It is. Okay, now, this one, which I'm actually tempted to eat. Sniff.
Is that a banana?
That's right. Okay, it's going to get a little trickier, Dorothy. But I know you're going to figure it out. Take a smell.
Smells like cheese.
Okay, now this is fascinating. Take another smell.
It's a pizza?
No, but you're close. One more smell.
Tomato sauce. No.
No, you know what though? Here's what's interesting. Take a look. It's bread, but it had cheese right on the top that was removed. So you smelt the cheese that isn't even there anymore. It got you all confused and told you toward pizza, but that's fascinating. It's fascinating that you picked up cheese.
Yeah.
Because it was there. It was there. I pulled the bun. Where's M? I pulled it right off the top, and the cheese was right under it, but it didn't stay on the bun. So that's why this number that you're going to see in a minute is so fascinating. So I see the Lord is so amazing. Close your eyes. Last one. This one's going to be a little bit tricky, but big whiff. I got you. What's that one? Big deep breath.
Is that Italian dressing?
Yes. Balsamic vinaigrette. I'm saying you're really close. Dorothy, thank you. Thank you for coming up. So what fascinates me about that is the nose can pull those things in. It can process up to 50,000 and retain 50,000 cents. But here's where it gets really interesting. And actually, Dorothy just proved it. I can't even believe that it popped up that way. But this study just came out. Did you guys see this? That it can detect 1 trillion cents. So here's where science went, right? And I love it when Grace does this to science. And I love that science keeps on digging. Like when they said at one point in our life, not too long ago, that the Earth was the center of the universe. We were it. And everything revolved around us, but we were it. Now scientists say, how many universes do they think are out there? Does anybody know the number? 500 billion with a B. This is universes. We're one of them, and we're not the biggest one by far. Inside of our universe, they figure there's 1 trillion to 2 trillion stars, which, by the way, Earth isn't one of them. Our sun is, and it's a small to moderate star. There's 5 that are larger, at least in our universe. 500 billion times, let's just say 1 trillion just in known space to man. We used to think up until about 2 months ago that the nose could detect somewhere between 10, 20, 30 to 50,000 cents. In one study that they changed the parameters of, it doesn't jump to 100,000 or a million. It jumps to 1 trillion that the nose can actually detect. And how it happens is because of combinations of foods, traces of things that we can connect and pull together that actually make something else that our brain somehow remembers. But then here's what's really cool about it. In her brain, she smells banana, and in her mind, she instantly gets a vision of what that looks like, what it tastes like, ways she might like to use it, experiences she's had in her life with it. Maybe she wants to throw it a peel on the ground and watch me slip on it and seeing it come out. There's all this stuff that's connected to, and by the way, just so you know, this is the most powerful of our senses. It is the most deeply connected to our brain and getting us into an environment when we smell something that we're reminded of. There he is. Told you, Mr. Ledyard. Man of faith right there. 100,000. That's the hair follicles on your head, each of which can produce up to 20 hairs in your lifetime. So, and I think there's more. I think this is actually bumped up. So if we do 20 times 100,000, 2 million, right? I think it's more. So we're going to do 2 million times how many people have walked the planet of the earth. That number starts to get massive because that number is in the tens and tens and tens and tens of billions. When you multiply it by 2 million, and God knows every single hair on your head. Plus 500 billion universes with 1 trillion stars in each universe. And he can be all the way over there in whatever he has to do over there, and at the same time, he can hear every single word you say over here at the same moment and do what's best for you and for his will in your life like that. That's fascinating. 500,000 is the sweat glands on your feet that produce up to a pint of water each day. David, start getting some cups rolling, rehydrate yourself. You know what I mean? That's good stuff. 600,000 is the particles of skin we shed each hour. We shed it. Over 100 pounds in your lifetime. It's a protection mechanism. Yeah, that's gross. 1 million is the filters in each kidney that clean your blood at 2.2 pints per minute. Talk about us not being able to do everything we need to do. He's built the systems into us to keep our car clean, to change the oil, to do things that we just couldn't do, would forget to do, just could never do the way he wanted us to do it. He handles it. And that's just one small example of how he does it. 2.2 pints per minute every day of your whole life. Unbelievable. 2 million is the number of blood cells in your body that die and are recreated every second. That's 10 million in your body. That's another 10 million in your body. Multiply that out by the 10 billion people on the face of the earth that have ever been here. Every second. That's how we get regenerated and renewed. And that's why feeding ourselves and treating ourselves right is so important, because of what we need in the source of energy to do what we need to do. 4,500,000, 200,000, that's the amount of pain, touch, and temperature detectors in your body. It's the tightest security system in the world. 4 million pain sensors, 500,000 touch sensors, 200,000 temperature detectors that all work together to process the world around you and make decisions based on that, once again, subconsciously. What happened? You cut me off? Am I on time? I was waiting for the hook. What happened? Was I ahead of it?
No, you're good. I tried to. Technical difficulties.
Tell me what the problem was.
I was just cutting.
Oh, thank you, Em. Well, we're hustling along. We're not. Go up. Yep. Don't let them see that. Up. Good. Going to go to hit the 32 million, number 19, slide 19. Bam. And then just put it on slideshow from current slide. Beautiful. What's up? You're good. Thank you, Em. 32 million, number of bacteria on each square inch of your skin on average. 32 million on each square inch. What's up, fellas and ladies? Most are harmless. They're crucial to our health and the recovery of our skin, which, by the way, is the largest organ in the human body, your skin. And how amazing is that? Here's what I want to take a second for that, which just blows me away. This thing keeps out water, keeps out things that aren't supposed to go in it. It absorbs things that it needs to absorb, and it is so fragile, it is so thin, it is so incredible. How that works, how it regulates our body is just amazing. 38 million, the average number of times your heart will beat each year. It'll pump 750,000 gallons of blood through 60,000 miles of blood vessels. It gets better. 100 million. It's the number of receptors, like I told you, in each eye to help you process everything you see in a moment's notice. The eye focusing muscles alone move about 100,000 times each day. Don't think about that. It just happens. 300 million is the amount of capillaries your lungs contain. Over 1,500 miles, they process over 8,500 liters of air each day. I will take a pause on this, switch to my fitness side. How do you activate your faith, your life, and your fitness? For sure, here's what you do. You drink more water, you walk and you move more, you laugh more, you find a way to manage and mitigate your stress, and you breathe more. And I'm going to tell you why. Breathing, and I was assessing your breathing, Dorothy, while you're up here, by the way. We'll chat after. I'm going to help you out, give you a little breathing tactic. But look at this. Our rib cage is connected to our pelvis, to our shoulders, to our trunk. It is like one of the things that guides us and moves us. It's our carriage. When we breathe shallow and we breathe in here in our chest, those ribs don't move. All the interconnections that are connected to these ribs and all the intercostals and all the interconnections that are inside of them, when we breathe deep and we fill them and that movement happens, it creates such tremendous life in our body, and it exercises so many of the connection points to the ribs and the rest of the body. That's why your breathing is so critically important. And as an aside, when you're stressed out, when your heart rate's up, they teach snipers, our Special Forces snipers, they can run up for miles, get onto a place where they have to take a shot, and it matters, and they've got 30 seconds to set up, get down, and get it off. They teach them a breathing pattern, which is just deep breathing, and they can bring their heart rate down, and you could actually do it with very minimal training. You could bring your heart rate down 30 to 40 ticks in 30 seconds or less. Because breathing tells the brain, I'm safe. When we don't breathe, and we have shallow breaths, which most of us do all day long, we get tense, we lock up, and our brain instantly says, I need to protect. I'm in a guarding state. So we're not relaxed, we're not released. Hey, Isaac. Come on in. I like him. Archibakwe? That's a great name. This is 100 trillion, we're getting up to the top, bacterial cells in your stomach which can erode, they dissolve a razor blade. The lining is completely replaced every 3 to 4 days or it would eat itself. We don't think about that. Every 3 to 4 days it's turned over by the grace of God. So we can do what we need to do. Also get good bacteria in your stomach, you'll feel like $1 million. 22 trillion. That's the amount of blood cells in your body, each containing millions of molecules, and in each cell, so now it's like 22 trillion, then molecules, then in each cell, there's an atom that oscillates at more than 10 million times per second. Every second. In 22 trillion cells in your body. This is a galaxy and a universe of its own, and it just is fascinating to me. That's the human brain right there. 1,000 billion billion. That's a big number. Number of proteins in your brain that help you retain every thought. 70,000 of them, you're going to see in a minute. Every sight, every sound, every taste, every scent, and beyond, and merge them in a completely perfect way to help you understand life around you, make decisions, and use your ability to ration and reason. 1,000 billion billion of them, and it's going to grow. But here's what's amazing, and those are the proteins. We talked about, someone said, I think it was you, Dorothy, said lean meats, right? Proteins. Proteins are the building block of muscle. They're filled with amino acids. We die without them. So the key thing here is proteins are this critical driver, and like this, they're almost like the general of our body, of our structure, of our function, of our cells. And of those proteins, there is one protein that is like the master governor. He is like the man. She's the woman. That protein is the one that ultimately gives instructions to all the other proteins to tell them what to do, how to function, to regulate our body, to regulate keeping us safe, to keep us stable, to grow, to function. And that protein, and if you don't believe that we are divine by design, that protein is called laminin. Who's heard of laminin? Have you ever seen laminin? Well, you guys already get the awesomeness. This is one of my favorite parts of the whole talk. I didn't even know it was until about 2 days ago, because I knew it would fit with this campus. The chemical ordered structure, scientifically, look it up, that's what I did, of laminin, for scientists, this is laminin. That's the trump card. That's the master protein in our body. Of the 1,000 billion proteins in our brain that coordinate and connect everything, that's the guy right there. That is its molecular structure. It's absolutely fascinating. 70,000, and it's more. That's the average number of thoughts that you have each day. And the key will be, for us, as we talk about inspired action for intentions greater than yourself, which ones will you choose, which ones will you feed, which ones will you act on, and how will you choose to act? 70,000 thoughts a day. How do we process that? How do we rationalize that? How do we not go crazy over that? Another divine gift. But man, that is a lot of activity that we have to manage every day. 2, that's the number of times the average person is going to walk around the earth in a lifetime. If you go to Rome, if you go to Africa, if you go to Slovenia, I think, say hi for me. Those are all places I want to see. New Zealand, I'll throw that in there. 1, see those little creatures up there? That's the number of species on the face of the earth that have rational power of choice to decide what is best for themselves and others. And that's human beings. That's you. And 0. Of the 108 billion people to have walked the face of this earth, the number that are exactly like you. There is no one who will ever be exactly like you on the face of this earth. And so this is what bothered me for so long, and it still does. Why do I have such a hard time taking care of myself, making the right choices, quieting that stuff around me, getting interested in fitness? I'm a fitness guy. I don't love fitness. When I had an injury at 26 years old that shattered my leg, it took away everything that I identified with my fitness because I was a free play guy, and I couldn't do those things anymore. And it put me in like a cage, like I felt locked up for almost a decade. And then I had to get to a point in my life, and it took a specific experience in Louisville, Kentucky, which I know you're not a Louisville fan, but I was in a park, and I did some movement, and it was such a gorgeous day. I was at a conference, and I sat on this little ledge, and I was looking out over this park, this grass, and the river, and I said to myself, oh man, as I looked around, I said what I could do in this place, and I looked at all the cool stuff and things people were doing, and I'd love to do this, and it wasn't an envious thing, but it was, boy, it'd be great if I could do this or do that, and then I just froze for a second, and what I realized was, it just dawned on me, because I had a recent experience in my family with someone in the military who had gotten injured, that they're just using them as an example. I'm not even talking about people who blow through these villages in Africa and just maim people and just because they want to, because it's fun. But I'm talking about people that are coming back from war without their legs. And I said to myself, my goodness, I am so grateful for what I was just able to do. So it was changed in me from wishing and trying, wanting to do what I couldn't do, and being so grateful for what I had, because there is a person, a man or a woman, that would give anything to take one step again. And I just threw 10,000 of them out there without even thinking, without even sanctifying it, without even honoring those steps. Yet they would literally give anything they could for one more step. Or the person who never felt the ground under their feet, what gravity feels like, what it feels like to feel the grass under your toes, to walk across that grass, to smell the air, to just feel that feeling, or to run on a beach, or to feel the water under your toes. They'll never get to feel that. And yet I just throw them away every day. And not only that, I wish I could do that. See, here's what's fascinating to me, and it dawned on me a long time ago, story with my daughters, but it actually connects to the parable of the vineyard and the master of the vineyard, where he brings in people at work at 6 in the morning, 9, noon, 3, 5. At the end of the day, he chooses to pay them the same wage, right? You guys know the story. You know it better than I do. And they're grumbling because when they find out, oh, if they got a denarius and we came at 6 a.m., whoo-hoo, we're going to get tenfold, and they get the same. And he says to him at the end, what does he say? Good way to say it. We agreed to something. We agreed to something. This morning when you were starving, kissing your kids, walking out of your house, and you didn't know if you're going to bring food home for them to eat, roaming the streets to get a job, not knowing how you're going to tell your wife when you come home you can't feed them. And I come by and I give you an opportunity to make a great day's wage, and you are ecstatic because your prayers were answered. You go work, you come back, but now you're envious because someone else got better than you. So I was thinking about that, and I thought about my daughters, and I thought about how this is how we're wired from birth. We have to use this, and we have to use this, and we have to use this to overcome it. Because if I had a birthday party when my daughter was 4 years old, either one of them, and I lined up the table, and they're all playing out there, bouncing each other off the walls and dancing to, whatever they're dancing to. And then I called them in, and I said, hey, guys, every one of them loves ice cream cake from Carvel. I don't know, but there's something awesome on the table. So they come around the corner, and I've lined them up, 20 kids, 20 cups, this much of a cake in one, all the way up to like a whole cake up here. And they fly around the corner, all 20 of them. Where are those kids going? To the big one. What happens to the kid that winds up getting the small one? No, Julie, this one's yours. And then all the way down to my daughter Ella, this one's yours. What does she say? What does she do? It's not fair. I want that. Why do I get this? They're 4. They don't have rational reason yet. They aren't accountable yet. It's wired in us. Then I fast forward that to a modern example. We'll talk about this. You guys love a certain protein shake, and you guys love it, right? I mean, I make one for you, and you're like, oh, that's the bomb. I can't wait till you make it again, and when you do, I'm there first thing. So we do a big workout. I say to you, like I do to some of my staff, hey, you guys finish up. I'm going to make you one of the shakes, the D-Jack specials. They'll be out here waiting for you when you're done. So you're pumped. You come out, and I've got these things lined up by cup. This much going up to this much. And as you come around the corner, I say to you, hey, you get that one, go ahead on up. And you're like, yeah. What are you guys doing when you see this one down here? And then I go, hey, this one's yours. Honestly. When you get that. And they all got that. What are you thinking?
I want more.
Yeah, and not cool. What did I do? You know what I mean? Why don't I get more? So here's what's so fascinating about that. And this is what just really, like, it dawns on me, like what we have been given. In that case, in the denarius case, in my daughters with the cakes case, in anything in life, I'm giving you something you didn't have. You never had anything. And you're not grateful for the gift I gave you. You had nothing. Here's the second part of it, and I think the more powerful part of it. That we look down the line at our brothers and sisters, and we go, why did they get that? That's what's powerful. Why did they get that? Why we can't be like, good for you. Yes, you won. That's amazing. I'm so pumped for you. I'm out of here. But I'm genuinely excited for what God gave them. Because when we start to do that, when we start to look around, when we forget what we've been given and we don't honor it, we start to become suspicious of God. Because why did they get that? Why did they get that? Why did they get that? And that's where I was. Okay, I'd like to do that. I'd like to do that. I had to wind up becoming grateful for what I had, and then remembering the great gift that I have with whatever I have, and then sanctifying and being grateful for that, which ultimately started to change the way I think about myself, my God, and my fitness. We're almost done. Promise. You can ask questions. And that's it. This is what Og said in his book. You are by far the most rare and unique miracle in the world. There's no scientist, there's no person of or not of faith that can get around that with rational talk, with science talk. I don't care what you come up with. I don't care what machine you show us. It doesn't matter to me. You will find me nothing, and you can't prove anything that is more profound and more amazing than this human body. Now, we see people out there with their iPhones cleaning that baby up, and their glasses cleaning it up, and shining up their shoes, and cleaning up their new Nike so they don't have any Reebok. You got this on film? So we don't have any, dirt on the new shoes, and we got this new car, and we're out there, we wash it off, we clean the rims, we've got it in a pressure-sensitive garage, yet this thing, last. Same here. I'm talking to myself right now. I'm convicting myself of all the things that I just want to honor God. So, I looked at scriptures to us. These are the promises. And I mean, you guys know them. Genesis 1:27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. God blessed them. And God saw all that he made, and it was very good. We're the first fruits. That's the promise. God created us in his image with great care. Romans 8, 38, 39, you know this one. It's one of my favorite ever. For I'm persuaded, what a promise, that neither death nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, height, depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus our Lord, which you have. There are a lot of people out there that don't have it. This is a promise that you have been given in this body, with this mind, with this spirit. What are we going to do with it? The purpose. It's like there's so many scriptures to talk about his purposes for us. And I don't want to say this is the end-all be-all, but they certainly speak to it. In the end, what was so cool about it is to prepare God's people for works of service so that the body of Christ might be built up until there's a purpose there. We all reach unity in the faith and in the knowledge of the Son of God and become mature, attaining to the whole measure of the fullness of Christ. Ephesians 2:10 is one of my favorite. For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared for us in advance for us to do. So there are works. There's a reason we're here. You have to show up. You've got to be here. Because when you're not here and you're not operating and you're not able to hear the call of the Holy Spirit, for whatever reason, we're his arms and his legs, we're his hands and his feet. There is a command to be fit. This is where faith and fitness come in. Fitness, in my opinion, has been relegated to just the physical, to just metrics. It is spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical. It is. And you cannot live one way in one area of your life and another and consider yourself fit. Even Gandhi said that. You know, Pope John Paul II, this was huge, was his theology of the body and all what he studied in his life. It is embodiment. It is everything working together to create a dedication. So that's why the word dedication in inspired action, dedicated to intentions greater than herself. Dedicated came from two words. One, to consecrate, to set aside. Two, to preach. When we dedicate something, our actions, how we walk in front of others, we are setting aside that action and consecrating it, and we are preaching with our actions so that ultimately what comes out of us will bring light to our Creator. These four things together, they're the pillars of fitness. And so what I talk about, this is the least of the four, right? Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Spiritual is by far the most powerful. Here's what's interesting. A setup in spiritual, emotional, and mental for health there, even though physical is the least powerful, it cannot change. It can create an environment for change, but it cannot change or move metrics in the physical wellness sphere. As powerful as they are, we need to eat certain ways. We need to drink certain things. We need to move. We need to be active. We need to laugh. We need to stretch. Because physical changes can't happen through those. Here's the irony of it. When we do the physical and we do things that bring us a deep sense of joy and satisfaction and meaning and help us get towards goals that matter to us, fitness should not be drudgery. It shouldn't have to be boring. And if it is, shame on us as professionals. Because we haven't shown you the universal movement that's available to you. We haven't given you the opportunities to find joy and meaning in fitness and taking care of yourself. Because here's the irony. When you work in this, the least of the four, it will actually set up positive change in the other three. Because when you do this well and you keep at this, your mental, your emotional, and your spiritual health increase. You cannot increase the others without your spiritual health. That's why it's first. These are the pillars, and they're important, and they're powerful. I can have someone come into me, and it happens all the time. I could bench 3 XYZ, I can run 4 4s, I could blah, 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 I could do this, I am so fit, I'm men's health fit, I'm the man. Yeah? I just saw you yelling at your girlfriend outside. Or is that your wife? I just saw you like spit on the floor over there, XYZ. Are you fit? It's just a question. So you might be fit here, and that might be easy for you. That's not a sacrifice. But you're unfit in other places. So in the end, we're not fit. And we're not fit for kingdom work when we're like that. Neither am I. Spiritual fitness, I'm just going to let you take a peek at them. That's why we say Matthew 6:33, but seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. It's pretty simple. Amen to that. 1937, 37 and 39, love the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. And the second is like the first. Love your neighbor as yourself. Pretty simple command. You want to be spiritually fit? It's hard to get around those. I love Psalm 119, 9 and 11. One of my navigator mentors showed me the scripture a long time ago, and the fullness didn't rest in my mind until I read it again, and how powerful it is. How can a young man and woman keep his way pure? By living according to your word. Here's the kicker. I have hidden your word in my heart that I might not sin against you. Like, what? Just hide it in there. Get it in there. It will do the work through the Spirit. It will change your heart. It will change your mind. Sometimes those fitness don't have to come from things that we do other than just staying in the anointed gifts that we've already been given, right? Emotions. Emotional fitness is huge. We talk about how do you treat others, how do you speak to others, how do you care for others, how do you relate to others. Do I come up to someone like a Joshua Miller, and I've done this before in training, you guys take note of this because it's important, and I used to do this. If Joshua was a quiet, introverted guy, and I came up to him Dave Jack style, like it would be like, Joshua, what's up, kid? How you doing today? And he's like, why is this guy yelling at me? No, I'm serious. He retreats in his mind, not him particularly, but if that's the way he was wired, introverted, to himself, quiet, I just blew him away just by the way I approached him. So I have to understand emotional fitness. How am I compassionate towards the state of others? How do I become like all things to all people so that I might earn the chance to win a few, right? So I have to meet Joshua in another way. I might have to grab him on the way as we're walking, and I have a guy in my classes right now that's like this. I don't call him out in front of people because it makes him feel like he's standing out. I walk with him, I talk with him, and I speak to him in a different way that he can relate to because he's auditory and he's internal. And that's how he responds. That's how he feels like I care for him. That's how he feels he can talk to me safely and comfortably. That's emotional fitness. Therefore, as God's chosen people, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, patience, ... Forgive as the Lord forgave you, and over all these virtues put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. That's emotional fitness. Mental fitness, Romans 12:2, love this verse. Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, and here it is, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Mental. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. Mental fitness, it's right there. I can't talk to other people in the world like this. It's hard for me to talk to people that I train every day who don't have a filter. You have, you do. These words are truth. Your fitness lives in them. Physical fitness, Romans 12:1. This blew me away when I was doing some ministry work in Switzerland for soldiers of ours that were traveling over. They go through AFRICOM, and then they go downrange into war in the Middle East. We were there just to serve on them for 3 or 4 days, and this was one of the scriptures that I was called upon by the Lord. Therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. So that hit me. I was like, oh my goodness, it really is important. We really are the temple. But that wasn't the powerful one for me. It was what came after. And it's a dash in some, it's a semicolon in others. This is your spiritual act of worship. This is your spiritual act of worship. I read that, and I know it's more than just the physical. It's all the pieces. But that's where fitness lives. Corinthians, that's one of my favorite. Therefore, I do not run like a man running aimlessly. I do not fight like a man beating the air. No, I beat my body and make it my slave because it's going to lie to you about food, about don't move, about don't take care of yourself. You're not worth it. I don't need to stretch today. I don't need to take care of my back pain today. I don't need to do X, Y, Z. I can eat that today, and I don't care if it's going to make my joints swollen so I can't go to my kid's game. Whatever it is, all that stuff is going to come. But he beat his body and his mind and his soul to make it his slave. He shut it down because he has ration. It's not in his, amygdala and his limbic system that's overriding people's thought right now in the world because we're so spontaneous and we're so driven by instant reward and stimulus that part of our brain is overriding the rational side of our brain, me included. I make it my slave so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. I'm going to wrap it up. So what now? Live like it every day. That's all we can do. Simple steps to living fit. So the way I see it, for me, seek Him and His will first, to do my best to do that. Take care of the greatest miracle on earth, whatever that looks like for me, but make sure it's a priority. Use your power to choose wisely because we're the only ones that have it. And doing all things as unto the Lord, that's an act of prayer. I want to tell you a little bit about that before I leave, which is my second to last slide, which is now my third to last slide, so hang in. This one I just loved, and I thought about when I saw this scripture, I really did, and I'm like, you know what? This talk drove me into the Word, which I'm so grateful for. Sing and make music in your heart to the Lord, always giving thanks to God the Father for everything in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Gratitude, just gratitude. It will make you fit in a minute. It will change things so fast, and I forget that. Ephesians 4:19-20. And the last one, fitness stuff. move more, whatever's right for you. Laugh more. I'm telling you, they're going to study that more, and it's going to be unbelievable. Play more. Play is contextual, but here's the deal. You know you're in play when you are separated from the constraints of time and space. It doesn't matter what you do, but if you're not doing that on a weekly basis, more than once, it doesn't matter what it is. Walking around and looking at the trees, rowing in a boat, getting on the treadmill, reading a book, playing checkers, chess, it doesn't matter. You know you're in play when you are separated from constraints of time and space. They're studying now in neuropsychology that space for us, all they can say is we can't understand why it's doing what it's doing to the human brain. That type of purposeless, in a way, free play activity that people find joy in, all we can say is that it's divine in nature. Of course it is. Because you're guided freely in it. You have to have that as part of your fitness architecture. Pray more, breathe, better posture, drink water, sleep well, eat clean, and stress less. Those, it sounds simple, and there's a lot of steps to it, but those things right there, even a couple of them, a few minutes a day, they're going to change your life. They're going to help you be fit. And this is what we started. This is what we're working on. This is what I'm so grateful to the university for. This training staff right here, that in a second I'm just going to come up and have them introduce themselves and give them a round of applause. Em over here for all the work that you've done to partner with us and bring us on campus. Joshua Miller, my brother, I can't thank you enough for everything. For everything. Chris Ledgett in the back, his leadership, what he's trying to do here, it's not about him, it's about you. It's about an opportunity for you to be a vessel, like he said today, and that's it. And that's the same thing you said in the opening, that we would just be a vessel to be called when we need to be called and be ready for the call. We don't know what, we don't know when, we don't know how. We just want to do our best. To be the sharp knife in the drawer when the chef needs a call for one. Man, I hope I'm the one you can use to make some cuts, right? So we came up with just not being happy with fitness the way it is, not being able to connect faith and fitness in a way, an active prayer. And so we defined it as inspired action that's dedicated to intentions greater than self. When we act in this manner, we sanctify those actions. We bring the four pillars of fitness into harmony and turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. So let me tell you what I mean. When we don't act that way, when we don't drop into intention that matter to us with inspired action, be in the moment and dedicate it up to things that genuinely move us, you will never pick an intention that moves you and choose an action to honor against it that you won't do well or find joy in. I have never seen it yet in the 2 years we've done this. When people truly find an intention that matters to them, the action they choose, I don't care if it's standing in the sun and breathing in 10 breaths and dedicating it to something bigger than yourself. I have never seen someone that doesn't do the action in a way that doesn't honor the intention. And in that regard, that action, which ultimately would be inert with no thought put into it, now lasts forever. We talked about Martin Luther King being an example of an active prayer. He acted inspired with everything he did for intentions greater than himself. Freedom for all human beings. So all the work that he did, all the late nights, all the suffering, all the stress he took, all the threats on his life, all the traveling, all the talks, all the studying, prayer, all of it for an intention greater than himself. That's why what he did ripples on still today. And every saint and everyone you can think of, you look at their lives and they were active prayers. They lived it out. We're trying to find a way to bring that model to fitness. And so it works with all intentions for the greater good and appropriate actions done to honor them, including fitness, sport, and play activity. It helps to activate your life, your faith, your fitness in your life. And then ultimately what we say is, here's what sets it apart. You prepare, you act, and you share. You prepare your mind. You just settle in, even if it's for a moment, and it changes everything. Then you act based off the way you prepared for it, because now your actions are rooted in presentness. So your actions are going to change because there's something that they're connected to that are bigger than yourself and have dropped you in. Then the shares that you're going to be able to share, because that's what closes the loop, to encourage one another, to edify the faith, those shares will be so powerful because you allow the Holy Spirit to present things to you that you would never have been able to have been done if you didn't set it up that way. I see people walking in and out of commercial gyms all the time. On the elliptical, out the door. On a treadmill, out the door. Over to the stretch machine, out the door. There's no conversation. Nothing leaves the gym. They stay the same. Not that it's bad, but there's so much more. And we're hoping and we're praying that our partnership with this school will show us some truths, will help us identify things that we need to work on, will ultimately help us shape what we're doing because we left it open source. We left it. It's your intentions. It's your actions. So that you could go as you're led and share what you feel you want to share, because the body will build the body. And we're going to prove it because fitness has been isolated for way too long. So You guys can actually get started. There's a page up there. There's going to be one just for Franciscan University, which we'll never do again, where you can put up whatever you want. You can go to the site. It's still early in beta, but you'll get the feel for it, how you can link to other shares, how you can honor other things the way you choose to. And it's just, if any school, if any body of people is going to help us learn things and just expand things, it will be this community. And we're so grateful to be here. The last thing that my brother Joshua kind of wanted me to see if I could share with you, if I can find it, is this. It's just a little, we're humble and we don't have a whole lot, but we just did a little video. This is just related to fitness. Your action can be anything, active. But these are just some people we looked at and talked to. And
I remember being in the second round of this workout and doing these burpees and thinking, oh my goodness, I don't want to do this. Like it hurt me. But what I'd done is I'd put the whiteboard down and I just wrote mum on it. So I'm down on the ground, I look at that board and I'm like, you know what, my mum can get up every day and go and look after other people. I'll be damned if I'm not going to get back off the ground and do another rep.
An active prayer is inspired action, dedicated to an intention greater than self.
We're going to work out today. We're going to dedicate it to your unborn son and to your wife, and that they have the strength to see, life.
The intention, when it's pulled outside of yourself and done for something greater or someone greater than you.
The first time I actually practiced an active prayer, I got it. It made sense. I got out there for the regionals and I wasn't nervous. Because it wasn't about me and my performance, it was about me inspiring others, whether I finished first, last, or in the middle.
These little seeds of action, done from pure intention, are just affecting lives and affecting circles and circumstances that would have never seemed to connect.
If I hadn't done that, if I hadn't had that time, and I hadn't made those active prayers and really reflected on it the way that I did, I don't know if why I would be here.
Active prayer is a way and a tool to harness more action for others or for something bigger than yourself.
I've done active prayers, I've been on the receiving end of active prayers. I've seen how it can affect one person, a group, hopefully eventually the universe. I mean, this thing can go a long way.
We don't know what it's going to go, and we don't know how it's going to affect people. But what we do know, and what's so exciting about it is that it is going to change some lives because it's already changed ours.
so that's what we're up to. And both of those people that you saw there, neither of them were really people of faith. We kept the name Active Prayer. It's polarizing because people hear it and they're like, even people of faith, because there, if we polled, a couple 100 million people in the United States and we said, are you, check what religion you are, 90 million of them are going to check something, or 250 million, that 200 million out of whatever would check something. But if we started here like we do, if we started breaking out Scripture and the Bible, they'd be like, whoa. So there's a lot of people even of faith that look at it and they're like, oh my goodness. So that's why we ultimately created a definition for it. But those two, that woman is a high-level CrossFit competitor. The other guy, Bryant, is a friend. Ironically, I got him connected as a global executive in Reebok. His son had complications and wasn't going to be born, and he was like, and he said, you know what? Could you make my son an intention? So my partner, one of my partners, had the goatee there, who was jumped up on the box, who also spoke. He said, you better believe it. So they put the intentions down and started to shoot throughout the Reebok, the corporation, and people that were in there. And it really just changed the way he thought about intentional action. And here's the coolest thing about it. When you lay down something that matters to you, whether you're surrendering something, or you're giving something up, or you're doing it out of joy and gratitude for something, the actions that you take will be actions that won't hurt you. And the problem we have in fitness is people doing things they shouldn't be doing. For what? You'll never do a rep that's going to hurt you or look wrong because you're not honoring the thing that you're using to honor the intention you care about. So our hope is that not only will it ripple to other people, and you get more from giving than you do receiving, and it's so amazing to receive it out of the blue from someone else. We're seeing that. But the cool thing is that what you choose to do is going to be more sanctified. It's going to be more present, and it is more powerful. And so, my greatest hope for you all is that you just, Jason Gray, remind me who I am. That just a little bit tonight he reminded you who you are, that he reminded you what he's called you to do, and that everything you need has already been given to you. He also promises us that you would go out, that you would be a light, that you would surround yourself with others that could uplift you and sharpen you and support you, and that in the end you will have run this race well, and I'll see you on the other side. And I thank you for your time.